Hello everyone, myself Divyesh BS, pursuing AIML in GM University. So I'm going to present the assignment, that is software engineering practices with the agile methodologies. So, assignment 1 topic, that is create a CID pipeline diagram for an sample app. So under the guidance of Praveen sir, Assistant Professor, Department of AIML. Now coming to the next slide, the building a CI/CD pipelines from code to productions. So this integrates the automating a software delivery for speed, reliability and continuous innovation. Now coming to the next slide, what is a CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous development and continuous deployment, and why does it matter? Continuous integrations, which develops a merge codes and changes frequently into an central repository that trigger automating builds and tests. This practices which catches the bugs and early and reduction for integration problems. So under this there are three advantages, that is automated code validation, rapid feedback loops and early bug detection. Now coming to the continuous deployment, that is automated release of the validated code changes to production environments, and every changes that passes a test is deployed automatically, that enabling a faster time to market. So the advantages of this is automated releases reduces the manual error and faster feature delivery. So among this, there are 10x faster deployments. The teams using a continuous integration and continuous deployment code changes up to 10 times more frequently than the traditional methods. So now coming to the 60% of fewer failures, that is automated tests reducing the production failures by catching the issues before deployment. Now coming to 20x quicker recovery, so automated rollbacks and each enables the teams to recover from an incident significantly faster. Now coming to the next slide, the sample applications of architecture overview. So the modern microservices based on an e-commerce platform, that is demonstrating the enterprise gate on a continuous integration and continuous development implementations. So the front end layer are the React based SPA with the respective design, that is hosted on a CDN for optimal performances. Now the API gateway, Node.js is a gateway handling a routing, authentication and the rate limiting, and the backend services, the Python microservices for order and inventory user management, data layer, that is a posterior SQL for relational data, and Redis for catching MongoDB and a product catalog. Now coming to the next slide, the build, that is a step 1, that is build and compiling and the packing of the code. So first step is the source code checkout, that is this continuous integration server pulls the latest code from the repository when triggered by the commits or pull requests, and the dependency resolutions, the packages manages npm download and install all required libraries and frameworks. The code compilations, the source code is compiled and transpiled and bundled into an executable formats with optimization that is applied. Now coming to the artifact creation, that is a Docker images are built and tagged into a then pushed container registry for deployment. So and building validations, the quick smoke tests verify the artifacts were created correctly and basic functionality works. Now the pro tip is to implement a build and catching a reduce optimization by up to a 70%, store dependencies and intermediate build artifacts to speed up the subsequent builds. Now coming to the next stage, stage 2, that is test, the automated testing strategies and implementation. So the testing layers are the unit test, integration test, E2 test and the performances. So unit test 70% coverage and executed under 2 minutes. So the integration test, which includes the API contracts, database interactions. The E2 test, which includes the critical users journeys and automated with the Selenium. The performances, that is loading testing with under 1,000 concurrent users. So now coming to the ETE test, integration test and the unit test, that these are the testing pyramids, that is a strong foundation of a first isolated with a unit test supported by the integration test and topped with a critical end-to-end scenarios. So there are 85% of the code coverage and maintained across all microservices with a strict quality gates, and the test suite runtime, that is completely automated with a text execution from E to E test, and the 99.2 pass rate with a consistency test reliability with a minimal flaky tests. Now coming to the next stage, that is a deploy. The stage 3 deploy the production development and the rollback procedures. So under the deploy stage, there are staging development and smoke testing, camera release and progressive rollout and a validation complete. So staging development, the new version development of staging environment that is identical to the production for final validation. Smoke testing, the automated health checks verify the critical functionality before promoting to production. Canara released the deploy the 5% production traffic first monitoring matches for the anomalies. Progressive rollout which gradually increases the traffic new version 5% to 25% and 25% to 50%, 50% to 100% over 2 years. Now coming to the validation complete, the monitor error rates, response times and business matrices to confirm and successful deployment. So the automated rollback triggers are the error rate exceeds 1% threshold and the response time degradation over 20%, failed health checks on 30% instances and the critical business drops that are detected. Now coming to the next slide, that is the essential CI continuous integration and continuous development tech tools and the technology stacks. So the Jenkins open source automation server overcasting the entire pipeline with the 1800 plus plugins for an extensibility. GitHub Actions, the native CID integrated with the repository, provide a seamless workflow automation and the matrix builds. Now coming to the Docker, the containerization platform ensuring a consistent performance from the development through production. Kubernetes, the container orchestration managing the deployment, scaling and self-healing across infrastructure. Terraform infrastructure such as a code provisioning, cloud resolutions with a versions control, declarative configuration. And the performance and a Granifia monitoring a stack collecting matrices, alerting and anomalies and visualizing the system health. Now coming to the tool selection criteria, the tools on team enterprises existing infrastructure and scalability requirements and integration capabilities. So start a simple and evolve as the needs grow. Now coming to the next slide. So this is a pipeline flow of visualization branching stages, that is on the build, test and the deploy. This is the code and the commit. Now coming to the next slide. Best practices for a pipeline optimization and security. There are 3 steps. It is optimization for a step, security first and a maintainable visibility. The optimization for speed parallelizes the test execution across a multiple agents, uses a build caching and artifact or reuse, reduces the pipeline runtime from 45 to 12 minutes. The matrix builds for cross-platform testing, dependencies, caching with the hash-based invalidation. Test prioritizing run failures first. Security first, the integrated security scanning at every stage. Shift security left by catching of vulnerabilities early in the development process. So the static code analysis with a sonar cube and containing an image screening for CVEs and secret detection preventing credential leaks and a dependency on the vulnerability checks. So now coming to the maintain visibility, comprehensive logging and monitoring provide insights to pipeline health and build trends and deployment success rates. The centralized aggregation and the real-time pipeline status dashboards, and the automated alerts for failures and the audit trails for compliance. So a pipeline is the only strong weakness and limit, that is the invested is reliability for sec and observability from day one. Now coming to the next slide, that is the real world implementation and the challenges and solutions. So challenges first is the flasky tasks. So the solution is to implement a retro logic improved test isolation and create a dedicated test environments, reducible a flasky task and around 12% and 22%. And the challenges long term builds, that is the introduced Docker and catching parallelized builds and dependencies cut average build time from 35 to 8 minutes. Now coming to the environment inconsistencies, the adopted infrastructure as a code with a transform containerized all services, achieved 100% environment priority across the development, staging and production. Now coming to the challenge, the deployment rollbacks implemented on blue-green deployments with the automated health checks and instant rollback with a reduced MMTR 45 minutes to 90 seconds. So the key takeaways for the second, start small, automate everything and monitor it continuously. Begin with a simple pipeline that is iterative based on the team needs and the pain points. And the automated everything, manual stops or opportunities for error, autonomous being testing, deployment and rollbacks. Now monitoring continuously, the invested in observability to catch the issues and early to maintain a pipeline health. Now coming to the next slide. So this is a CI/CD pipeline diagram that we have designed. So now it is the continuous integration, continuous deployment and continuous delivery and a continuous deployment. So now coming to that is a developer's local environment that is passed into the source code. The source code is get pushed in the build code and compiling the code and the Docker's build. Now coming to the testing of the code, that is a unit test and the integration test, which is test the code which is executed correctly or not. Coming to the deployment stage, that is staging, QA and the production. In the staging stage, which deploy this code which is correctly executed or not. Now coming to the productions, here it is a small assignment that is given by our guidance of the Praveen sir. Thank you one and all.